Watson. And now Deshaun Watson will finally be getting his day in court with the NFL. He's going to be meeting with Roger Goodell and whoever else meets in those kinds of meetings. But now, do you think, Gooch, that there is a suspension coming officially? When all things considered, I'm not saying if or why or how.
So we could clarify things. I never not thought a suspension was coming. I do think, and now since the contract was signed the way it was, it kind of indicates that they gave Deshaun Watson a bunch of weird deals in his first year because of the pending suspension.
Well,
so
they gave him a less salary hit.
Hit in year one.
But
so
like
when
fucking $800 trillion.
When he misses his game checks, he's only going to lose out on like a combined $1 million as opposed to $40 million that he would miss if he missed a whole season. So I think the NFL is going to factor that into their suspension because he did sit out last year. And I made the point that because he sat out, much like the proceedings with a real court case, if you are awaiting trial and you're sitting in jail during trial, you might, in that case, you get time served. In the case of the NFL, it's a little bit different because he was paid. So while he missed time, he was still paid. So there could be a hefty fine.
The hell of a jail to sit in when you're getting paid.
And there could be a shred of, if they suspend him for a full season and I'm his agent and I'm the Players Association rep, I'm going and being like, well, he sat out a year. Let's figure this out. He sat out a year. I understand, Dave.
What the NFL is going to say to that, if I'm Roger, I'm going to be like, well, we didn't sit him out. The Texans sat him out.
What I think that they might do here is say, okay, so it's 2 years. You had your year served.
Retro.
You could sit out a year. But it's not going to be a full year. No. That would be very damning to the Browns situation.
Or will it? Because Mr. Baker Mayfield's still chilling.
Because we'll get into that in a moment. But right now, what we have Deshaun Watson doing is what you would want the starting quarterback to do. He's in the Bahamas, I believe. Right, with all the skill players, and I think it's on his dime because he made a lot of money to do nothing last year. So you have Deshaun Watson working out with all the players, and he probably bought them a nice resort. My question is he paying for the massages? Is Deshaun Watson he got these guys at a resort to go train, and he's like, guys, I got these masseuses.
Oh,
they came with me from Texas, and you got to be careful because they might take you to court.
You can't. No way.
No, I'm kidding. Deshaun Watson obviously isn't supplying the Cleveland Browns skill position players with dirty hand jobs.
Anyway, it's just also Jumping Bones on Baby Day is here, and he's just dropping in and saying, "What's up, chipheads? Chopheads. All right, well, whatever." I kind of like chipheads because you try to maybe sound shitheads. But anyway, so this suspension is coming. It's been documented on when it's going to happen. And again, you said it already. Reiterated the fact that the contract signed by Watson was completely in favor of Deshaun Watson. What'd you say?
10 games. He's going to miss 10 games this year. That's my prediction. I don't know how it's going to come about.
Listen, I keep going back to the same thing, and I think that the NFL has finally come to realize that they may have made a mistake with the Ezekiel Elliott thing. Like, I can't keep going back to that and say, well, it's like Zeke got suspended for 6.
Exactly.
They fucked that up.
If you fuck something up and it was clear as day that the NFL kind of botched that whole thing, they can't be like, well, we botched that one. So every other situation that has the same precedent, we have to keep botching because we botched that one. It's like sometimes you could look at a situation and be like, we messed that up. We got to do better next time. And then the next guy that's in that position, Zeke fell on the sword and he had to suffer, no doubt about it. But
now
that doesn't mean the NFL
should
keep on doing the wrong thing to every guy that they wrong. It just
but I understand what you're saying, that they can't keep giving out suspensions.
I'm not comparing the situations at all.
We can't. It's totally different situations. And if some of this, there's no way that all of this is not
just
true.
To be clear,
it was a bad look for the NFL.
Just to be clear on what the exact situation that we're talking about in terms of the NFL doing it one way and then maybe changing precedent is that there was no criminal charges filed. But they still suspended Zeke. There's no criminal charges. That's the parallel here.
Yes, but in all their contracts, you can look this up. It's not about if you get criminal charges.
I know. If
you
it's about detrimental.
They're
if you do something detrimental to the shield,
yes.
To the shield.
So that's basically opens up judge, jury, and executioner. You don't have a set of guidelines because you can set the parameters in real time in a situation by situation basis. But what happens in those cases is eventually you run into things just like the courts do, and you have precedent.
Yes.
So now they have precedent on a situation. Now you have to look at that situation and be like, okay, the precedent is the parallels are that neither guy was charged. and the NFL still suspended Zeke, they're going to still suspend Deshaun Watson. That's the parallel. The things that aren't the parallel and why you have to kind of treat them kind of separately is because the allegations are much heavier towards Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
So while Zeke, he fucked up, whatever it was, you could say, oh, he's drunk.
Wrong place, wrong time, whatever.
He made a bad choice in that moment. He didn't make a bad choice several times for several years.
Yes.
Collectively. And didn't pay.
I think the whole thing is like,
so
I think
you
the
have
whole
to separate it that way.
100%. Scoop coming in saying 6 games for Watson. That's for me, after the whole sit out a year thing, 6 games to me would be the minimum that he should get. Minimum. You want to give him a season? That's a little crazy.
Whatever it is.
You think if he gets 6 games, it's going to be shaved down?
I think what's going to happen is
he'll appeal it.
They're going to go into this. No, if they're smart and they want to get this whole situation, because the NFL wants this done too.
Yeah.
So they're going to be like, look, we're going to suspend you for 2 years, or 1 if you don't appeal it, or 6 games. We're going to suspend you for 10 games, or 6 if you don't appeal it. So it's just like they're going to have this deal set in place, much like they probably did with Hopkins. We're like, look, we want to get this fuck over with.
Well, that's a rule though. Suspension on the substance abuse, that's in there.
No, but you could appeal. But you could appeal it. But what happens?
But he wouldn't, because he knew he's
when you
up.
appeal it is if you don't want all your shit public, don't appeal it, because then the NFL is going to have to be forced to show exactly.
Here we go.
What
We're going to start digging now. Yeah, absolutely.
So Deshaun Watson, in the Hopkins case, he's probably just like, yeah, I did it. I want to lie and act like I didn't, but I don't want to appeal it because then all the truth is going to come out that I actually did.